Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blue Star Rising, the Templar Awakening. Michael Henry Dunn here with the one and only Reverend Maia Nartoomid. Hello, Maia. How are you doing today?
Doing fine. Thank you, dear.
All right. So the video that we're going to share with you today is the regenesis of the human spectrum. And it's about 35, 40 minutes long, which is a little bit longer than our activational videos usually are.
I think it's
And
28 to 30 minutes, something like that.
28 to 30, well,
I
according
don't, it's 40. Really? It's 40 minutes long?
it is, my dear.
Oh my
As
gosh.
long as
I'm
we're my
sorry.
dearing each other, my dear,
Okay.
it's actually yeah, it clocks in at 39, I believe.
Okay.
But every minute, well worth your watching. I know, I always say that, but it's always true because I can't help myself. I have to tell the truth. I chopped down that cherry tree. 39 minutes and 33 seconds long. And because it concerns the essential inner structure of our beings, our bodies, planetary beings and bodies, star beings and bodies, the central sun within us as a microcosmic, macrocosmic template of the central sun of Gaia, our home planet, the nature of star suns, and how all of this is manifesting, changing, dramatically shifting now in the Ascension Timeline, and what it means for us. I'm hoping that's a pretty fair description, Maia.
It is. Yes, sir.
Oh, all right. See, I get to show off that I've done my homework. Um, so anyway, I'll be leaving an apple on the teacher's desk. But anyway, so let's just get right to the video. And it is going to be followed immediately by a deep dive of discussion. And so please enjoy, and we will be right back with you for regenesis and the human spectrum.
Adam Kadmon is an ancient Kabbalistic word for universal man. It is the template or design for the human being. Kadmon comes from Avir Kadmon, meaning primitive air or Azoth. Thoth tells us that the Azoth was the substance in which prima matra, or first matter, was formed. He also states that the Adam Kadmon was a twofold manifestation. It is a divine pattern or schematic, which is a light body of macrocosmic proportions. Also, it is a formulation of that sacred patterning into a being that was supraphysical and from which the Adamic race was spawned. From the Azoth, or primitive air, in which the supernal world was created, the Adam Kadmon took substance as the cosmic man. From the records of Thoth, I have translated that the Adam Kadmon, or great prototypal man, contained 9 souls which were not layered but rather fully integrated. When the etheric veil of earth began to lower its vibrational curtain, the original Adam Kadmon dispersed its 9-soul matrix into the galactic earth realms. This dispersal was done in several stages. 6 of these souls became creator beings within the solar sun. 2 of the remaining 3 Adam Kadmon souls entered the lesser heaven, in which the regenesis of earth was in formation. Regenesis in this context, meaning a reforming of the earth's cosmic blueprint in order to accommodate changes brought on by the cause and effect of souls interacting with the planetary consciousness of earth. I'm going to stop the reading here to say that what I'm reading to you was from a 1990 transmission from Thoth, or generated from that. And as I tried to write it at the time, I reread it and it is so convoluted, I can't even understand it. So instead, I am going to try to put it in simpler language here. There are 9 Adam Kadmon souls. When they separated to form individual placement in the cosmos, so to speak, one of those souls became the soul we know as Thoth. Another one became the soul we know as Osiris. And the Osiris soul would be one of the body souls, not body souls, one of the souls for Yeshua. I said body soul because actually it was. It held the position that allowed the physicality to thrive. So I guess I was correct in saying that. The other soul of the 2 Yeshua souls is what Thoth calls the pure soul. And that one has never been incarnated before the time it came into the body of Yeshua. There are others of the 9 souls that took other positions in all of this, and some remained within the solar sun. I'm not going to detail it all because it really isn't totally pertinent to what I'm attempting to relate here in this discourse. And it does get complicated even with a little more clarity. It's still complicated. So suffice to say, these 9 souls form key positions in the creation of the human reality, the human spectrum. And the spectrum itself is something we're going to discuss a little more here in this video, but right now I just want to relate to you about the 9 souls of the Adam Kadmon, and that they hold prominent positions in the creation and development of the human race. To return to the reading, the records of Thoth record the Amniotesh, or 7 creational stages through which the Adam Kadmon light body or prototype created the Adamic race. These are as follows. Now, I did bring them up in another video I created, this particular, but because we're involved in understanding it right now, I'm going to read it again. The first one is the bringing of fire or command of spirit. The second creational stage is the issuance of presence. The third is the whirling pillar or establishment of foundation. The fourth is the developing thought. The fifth, Thoth refers to as the placidity. The sixth is the breath, and the seventh is duality. Now, of course, we could take just this and form a whole study around it, but that is not the purpose of this video, so we continue. Thoth further explains the Adam Kadmon. The Adam Kadmon begins as a light body that is created from divine imprint through the angelic field. This light body is then integrated with a matter molecule of part light and part matter, which we refer to as the Imstra molecule. This is indeed a quantum molecule. All humans on this planet contain the seed of the Imstra that in the future will once again become fully realized. The Adam Kadmon, then, is not a single light being or race, but a sacred geometry transmitted from the angelic heavens to the matter world. Thoth reveals to us that the light body of the Adam Kadmon is our pattern for a return home to the greater light body of universal being. This greater light body he refers to as the Asheroth, although he stresses that this is just one of its many names. The Adam Kadmon is the photograph of the Asheroth, which is encoded holographically in the Zohar body. The Zohar is the light body that permits the physical system to move into greater dimensions and universes of experience. We as human beings contain a holograph of the Adam Kadmon within the cellular interface to our light bodies. This is the memory of our true divine form, that which will reactivate through the awakening of the Imster molecule as we assume our roles of priests and priestesses of light within the universes of God. This concludes the text that I wrote in the 1990s, based on Thothic transmissions. So now I would like to open the scroll, as Thoth says, to understanding more about the star suns and their relationship to suns within planets. Now, I don't want to get too deep into the science of this. I have videos on that. But I just want to give an overview so that we can have a basis for what I'm about to tell you next. So all star suns are on a higher level of vibration, emitting the frequencies of what we call angelic beings. Indeed, they house the angels. These are true beings of light that abide, dwell, exist, vibrate within what we call stars. Every single star, when it reaches a certain degree of evolution in its physical makeup, then opens the door to contain the vibration of the angelics. Now, that doesn't mean that every sun has a different amount of angels in it, like there's these angels here and these angels there. You see, we have created in our religions a means to kind of identify these vibrations. And they are beings, but they're beings residing in no space, no time, that enters through the star suns, their frequency, their interaction with the entire spectrum of relativity. Now I wish to read to you from an article I wrote, about 2 years ago, on planetary mantles. We all understand that we have an energy body, or rather bodies, as Thoth prefers to call it. Auras radiate out of these bodies. Yet we also have what I will call here light fibers that are magnetically drawn outward from the energy bodies, extending about 18 to 25 inches from the physical body. These fibers are receiving signals from the stars, and most prominently from our solar sun and the planets in orbit around it. Through these fiber optics, each planet of our solar system registers a sheath literally wrapped within the energy bodies. Thus, there are 11 of them, as our own planetary node is our atomic core of the body. At least this is how it is intended to be. Yet, since we separated from our doctrine of signature, we have only pale phantoms of these mantles or sheaths. The inner earth dwellers work to keep their mantles intact through various ways. What the noblest terra nata really wished to impart to me, and these are the beings that are the star and inner earth kindred that we are working with, the noblest terra nata that we're working with our quantum logic interactive program. And so what they wished to impart to me is that they wanted me to bring forth this information about the planetary mantles and how we of the surface world may restore ours. First, though, it is necessary to understand why restoration is important, what purpose the planetary mantles serve. Many years ago, my inner planes mentor, Thoth Hara, shared with me that the consciousness of both Earth and Venus came from the blue star Rigel in Orion and was inserted into the solar system. A long story, which I will not go into here. I do mention this as it is also important to understand that while we are adopted into the solar system, along with our sis star Venus, we are now one family, at least until the sis stars return to their homing ground through the ascension dynamic. Every human being is connected to the planets of this solar system through the radiations of our sun and the Earth solar atoma, that is the sun within the planet. Each of these planets bring to us a frequency which resonates throughout our energy bodies in patterns of ebb and flow. This, of course, registers to a degree in our personal astrology. Yet it is much more than what we see in the astrology we currently understand. With full-blown planetary mantles, we would be complete in our embodiment. We think we are incarnated, but actually we are kind of lopsided in our incarnation. It is not a balanced systemic flow anchored correctly in the pattern we seek to embody. This is due to our separation from the grand doctrine of signature and thus a loss of our individual signatures. Each planetary mantle we carry offers us the divine light program of the master planetary body, which imbues us with the knowledge and wisdom to live our incarnation to the fullest. So what makes a planet a planet? Poor little Pluto. It was unplaneted by our scientists for a while and then given back its title again. But no Earth scientist can determine what makes a planet a planet. The difference between a fully imbued planet and a conglomerate bundle of rocks and gas orbiting a star is if that rocks or gas planet contains at its center, its sacred center, a planetary genius. Once it is quickened in this way, it becomes inhabited with a planetary soul. Thus, from the higher perspective, we have 12 ensouled planets orbiting our sun. All of them but ours may seem dead, especially the rocky bodies such as Mars, but they are far from it. We are viewing them and even treading upon them with our drones from within our own reality stream and not theirs. Yet our energy bodies are interacting with their true forms as they are with us. But without full streaming, planetary mantles, we are missing out on a large amount of that communion. How can surface humanity receive their full planetary mantles? There is no quick fix for this. The reason we are not fully connected is largely because we, as a human race, are disconnected from our doctrine of signature, meaning separation to a large extent from the planetary genius. So it is a whole train derailment we are looking at here. We can't simply do a protocol to put all the cars back on the track and start up the engine again. However, we can employ the quantum field of space-time to jump to our full spectrum selves in increments, creating a living experience of future selfness, where we are connected to all the above and are assuming our planetary mantles. Then we create a logic point in our current reality stream and time body, anchoring the completeness there. Now, since I wrote this article, I've been introduced by Thoth to the Quantum Logica interactive program, which I have been actively pursuing along with our team, here the human team, as well as the Inner Earth and the Star team, since about, let's say late 2020. And this program, this QLI program, addresses how to reconnect all of our internal functions to the streaming dynamic of the planet. Now, it's not some kind of 1, 2, 3, and this is how it's done. But I mean, we were involved in a process that is facilitating that for ourselves and for the planet. Which brings me to tell you about a recent development for the Quantum Logic Interactive Program. We've been assigned to stream for a particular event that is ongoing right now, recently begun, that includes an opening of a portal within the interior sun of the planet, the sun atoma of this planet. This portal was opened in or around New Year's Day of 2022. And it is not just opening a portal, it's very specifically being controlled and operated. And the purpose of it is to bring certain key codes from the planetary genius, and I have a video on the planetary genius, and I've mentioned it many times, but that is the collection of the highest thoughts, intelligence of the planet, human and otherwise, into a sacred oneness. And that planetary genius contains within it certain viable frequencies that once streamed from the central sun atoma into the outer world, into the crystalline field of that outer world, will allow human beings to have more intimate access to the nutrients they need coming from Mama Earth, from the central sun. Now, I say it's being streamed, that it's coming out of the planetary genius, and that's true, but it's not just that. It's coming from all the essence that is in the earth, that contains at its very core the planetary genius. So it's all of that. And the Nobles Terra Nata are focusing on specific key light codes. That's the best word I can use. I know it's an overused word, but I can't come up with another one right now, that will help to facilitate not only Earth herself in aligning to the process, but the human beings, because it is triggering the regenesis of the Adam Kadmon template, the spectrum of that template, into the form it needs to take in order to reach the quantum level frequency for light principle 40, the flashpoint that takes us and the higher light codes of this planet and the planetary genius into the new Earth star, which is a world system 2. So we are in the process now on this planet of redefining, not redefining, I always use that word instead. Let me go back, of refining the planetary genius. No, I'm getting lost. Of refining the Adam Kadmon. In the process of refining the Adam Kadmon spectrum for its leap into the new Earth star. So to clarify, hopefully, the portal that has opened in the central sun atoma of the planet is a specific organization of pulling the frequencies from that core essence containing the planetary genius into and streaming it into the greater crystalline grid of the Earth, which means it's being activated on the surface of the planet. Now, that activation is intended to refine and update the Adam Kadmon spectrum to prepare it for the flashpoint of LP40 that takes it into the new Earth star or World System 2 experience. This revolves around the creation of the pure gem body, which I have videos on. The Imstra molecule being the essential part of that creation, which I have a video on, and more. All of these quantum aspects are involved. And of course, the development of a more full, more robust, shall we say, planetary sheaths in the auric bodies of the human beings. Now, how much of this will be accomplished and to whom? Well, how much is something that remains to be seen. It depends upon a lot of circumstances coming together, but it definitely will be updating. But to whom? Only to those souls incarnated who are wanting their awareness to expand, or asking for their awareness to expand, for their spiritual presence to be more present. It doesn't have to be in any belief system. It doesn't have to abide by Thoth speak or any of that. But in their heart, in their being, they have to have that desire. It's a calling, it's a frequency, and it says, here I am. I am that I am, and I'm part of that greater spectrum, and please envelop me in this refining, in this update of the spectrum of my personal Adam Kadmon being. So that is where it lies. Now, some people will get a lesser upgrade than others, again, determined by their desire. They don't have to be tall angels. They don't have to meditate every day. They make mistakes there, but they're trying, and they're truly wishing to be enveloped in this light. And it doesn't have to have a name to it. They just know it. They know it intuitively in their being, and they are striving for it. So there are those souls who really are striving for it. And there are those souls who would like to, but they don't even know how to begin to ask that question, to say, I am here. I want to be enveloped in this frequency. I mean, even unconsciously, they don't know how to do this, because it's not something you have to consciously say, although that's a good idea. But they don't even know where to find it in their body, in their being, in their spirit. And yet, they're not bad souls. They're somewhat lost. And they've succumbed to a miasm of the universal lethargy of not universal, but of planetary lethargy in the mass consciousness, on the surface of the earth. And they just can't seem to swim out of it. And then there are the souls that are saying, hey, I'm not going there. That's going to give away my personal power. I want to strive to be the one and the all, to have more power, and more power. I don't recognize a godness. I don't recognize anything but the moment that I'm living for myself in my selfish purposes. So there are those three levels. And obviously the latter is going to fall away. But the in-between, the souls who are swimming hopelessly around in the soup of miasm, of the mass consciousness that is being dragged down the drain, those souls, they still have a spark there that wants to be helped, but they don't know how to send the signal. It's all bogged down for them. And this isn't something that just happened in one lifetime, of course. Those are the souls, actually, that figure most prominently in our ability to make the grade, to bring things to a place of rectification. so that the planet can reach the frequency it needs as a whole to receive the flashpoint and to move into the world system 2 of the new Earth star. That doesn't mean that all these souls have to be brought across, but we need to make that effort. And I mean more than just a little symbolic effort. These are souls that if we don't reach into that cauldron with true divine compassion from the godness that we possess, if we just say, well, they're almost lost, so let's just give up. If we do that, we are not going to be able to survive the crossing. We need to make a true, sincere, God-dedicated effort to help these individuals. And it can't be done by, just words and platitudes and belief systems or anything like that. I mean, certainly a few might be, hear something or read something that kind of triggers some deep part of them to respond. That's not impossible, and I'm sure it will happen for some people. But mostly that's not going to happen to this particular category of people I'm talking about. So how do we reach them? How do we give them that opportunity? Through vibration, through frequency. The frequencies that we put out into the planetary system now will help others to swim to it, to find it as a beacon in their hearts. And that's not just symbolic. It's a quantum science principle. In conclusion, what Thoth wishes us to recognize here, within the context of what I'm speaking about, is that the suns, all the star suns, and all the cores, the central suns of the planet, the atomas as he calls them, and our atomas that we have that registers just above the high heart, above the body of our own hearts, all of these atomas, all of these suns that are all connected together and go into the central sun of the universal all of these affect and evolve life. They connect to the life of every planet. And the central sun atoma of the planet you are living on is the most direct part of that definition. Certainly your solar sun is as well, but the solar sun is acting on a greater universal picture, and it's depending upon the messages it gives into the internal sun of the planet to digest and regurgitate those frequencies to the human spectrum of that planet. So it's a partnership between the sun of the solar system that the planet abides within and its own central sun atoma. And of course, then we have to recognize how it transfers to the human atomas of individuals and beyond, how all the other greater orchestrations of the cosmic interface with that. So the Adam Kadmon is a spectrum that is constantly moving in motion with the frequencies of the suns, and most specifically the inner Earth sun of its planet, of this planet. And thus, when our solar sun changes, so does our inner sun. So the frequencies that are going on now with solar forcing, the changes in the sun of the cosmic solar sun, are also affecting the inner Earth atoma sun, and thus our own atomas. All of this is happening in the orchestration. it's presenting us with a sort of unknown, scary scenario in our thinking minds, because things are going to be changing. They already are, but they're really going to be changing on the planet and in our bodies. So let us take a look for a moment at the current situation as I speak this now on January 19th of 2022. We know that many things on the surface of the planet are changing. We have what many scientists are calling global warming, which is actually moving us into the ice age. It's not global warming per se, and it has to do with solar forcing. Then there is the unrest of human beings, which is really reaching a peak right now, having to do with the darker forces attempting to make their final play for total control of the world populace, leading to, according to Thoth, a non-humanistic agenda. That's a big topic. I'm not going to go into it all here, but it's certainly on the table, and that is what it's moving us toward. With the infection and its so-called prevention, both of which have been manufactured for this purpose. However, it's interesting that the light can never be set back. One way or another, the full spectrum of divinity will have its say. So as the One World Legion, as Thoth called them, now the new order of that has taken over, attempts to place into our bodies those things which would make us more malleable to their will, would also determine genetic changes that would be to their advantage, and to depopulate us to a certain extent, although that's really the last of the agendas. As this is going on, the overlay of light is saying, well, no matter what you do here, all of this is breaking down the old human spectrum to replace it with a more potent and viable new one. Now, that doesn't mean that we should all go out and get the protective thing that they want us to have. No, not at all. That is very dangerous. But the fact is that it's happening with the larger part of the population. So the light enters and says, well, let's take this and turn it around in some ways. Just at the breaking point, when everything starts breaking down so that the dark agenda can then seize it for their own purposes, at that point of breakdown, there's some infinitesimal moment when the light will say, no, we're taking over now, and we're going to create the new spectrum for humanity, the healthy, divine spectrum, the full light, and we're bringing this frequency into the planet now. So as these things are breaking down, which they would actually be doing anyway, but not through such a dark way, a more enlightened, graceful manner, but they would be breaking down anyway to transform it into a new holistic vibration. Well, that's what's going to happen. Unfortunately, there already is, and there's going to be more pain and suffering involved because the dark forces won't give up easily. What I'm trying to express here from the Thothic perspective is that there is a very vast light at the end of the tunnel. And the light forces will use whatever the dark forces think they are playing in their card hand to change the channel. to a brighter one. In the meantime, we have this card hand to deal with. It's what's been drawn for us by someone else, not us, but we're having to play it. The reason being is that even though we, as conscious beings, did not create this, we are part of the bigger picture. So we cannot separate ourselves from it. Our spiritual soul self is dipped into the same cup as those who are struggling, those who are separating, those who are dying to the light. And the only way we can retrieve that golden cup and drink from it anew as a beautiful shining grail is to be aware of this, play our roles in total awareness and dignity, and arise above the darkness of ignorance.
And we are back. All right, thanks for rejoining. So, when I started to absorb this as best I could and listen to it, I began to feel like, all right, this one seems complex, and it is. And yet, to me, the core message of it was that you were sharing a quantum understanding of our being, the Adam Kadmon template, as a microcosm of the macrocosmic structure, as above, so below, the great Hermetic statement and theme, that there is a correspondence between the Ascension Timeline, the upgrades going on within this template, and our intramolecule, the quantum link to our essential divine nature, and that the planetary genius of Earth, the understanding of how a planet receives or evolves into a state of having a planetary genius, that all of this, which can seem very complex, is actually necessary to an understanding of how our inner being, the Adam Kadmon template, is recalibrating, upgrading to connect more deeply and intimately to the planetary genius of Gaia, to the coming activation of her solar sun, her inner sun. And so, we always like to start out by touching on, for everyone, okay, here is this fascinating quantum material and all these, cosmic science coming forward. And we always try to bring it back to the here and now, what's unfolding in the planet, in your lives, in how we can, one heart at a time, one human heart at a time, activate our hearts. That's the trigger. And when you hear this in the Mother Mary prophecies, you hear this in Reverend Maia's work, you hear it in the beautiful prophecy that came forward from the woman in Hawaii, that there is this mysterious number of human hearts that once activated will trigger the massive transformation that and that reconnection to the divine that we call ascension. So I would love to just start out, Maia, if you could, by just focusing on that. You know, the beautiful, profound material coming forward, how you see it, you know, immediately playing out for all of, you know, for everyone watching, and for what's going on the planet. Is, if we can start there, that would be great.
Well, that's a big question. And I'm pretty sure I don't have all the answer for it. But because one of the things that's happening right now, from what I'm perceiving, is that all these dynamics that are taking effect now, that are moving forward, that are connecting one to the other, just like little triggers setting off, you know, and going through these processes. And a lot of these things that I know about, because I'm sure there are many that I don't know about, obviously, but the ones that I do are specifically coming through a lot of them, you know, the work that I'm doing with the Quantum Logic Interactive program, because that's what we're doing. We're pacing these things off and streaming and connecting to them with the consciousness of our DNA, and as acting as signals for everyone on the planet who is aware and connecting. So I'm seeing all of these different triggers going off, you know, just in alignment, very gently, easefully, so, you know, so ordered. And I realized that this isn't something they cooked up yesterday. You know, I mean, this has been ongoing in the plan for a long, long time. And they have the advantage. When I say they, I mean the star kindred and the inner earth kindred, especially the star kindred when we're talking about time travel. They have the ability to time travel, to go into the future. Now, the future isn't set in the sense that we have alternate timelines involved, but they're looking at the core frequency. Where does the core frequency take them? What timeline is that? And how do they help us move to that core frequency timeline? So they're doing it from that perspective. That means that they knew what was coming down the pike, more or less, for us, everything from Mr. T to the infection to, you know, so-called global warming, to what's actually an ice age coming, all of these things, you know.
Excuse me, you lost me with Mr. T. I assume we're not talking about the wonderful African-American actor on that.
No, not that one.
I've met him. He's a very nice guy. This is an oblique reference to something else.
So all of this, you know, I have to go back to what was written on the spaceship, the starship that landed in Rendlesham Forest in Great Britain in 1970 something, I think. And, you know, it was a big UFO case because all the military was out there, and the guy actually, you know, he looked at the what was on the side, and he started dreaming about it. So he got every letter, you know, and he wrote it out, and it was in some kind of code that could be translated numerically. And they didn't get it all, but much of it read, you know, that it was obviously a time capsule. It had gone back in time to make corrections with things and try to figure things out. And so that was what was pretty evident when they decoded it. So the ones that are trying to help us, which are our kindred, they have access to a lot more information than we do in regard to our timeline and what's happening. So from that perspective, they've been working on this for a long time, almost a pun intended there. They've been working on it for a long time. And they have it very elegantly placed. So they know, okay, we're going to pull this switch. We're going to pull this switch. We're going to pull this switch right at perfect timing. And these switches, as I'm calling them, are actually just states of dynamic quantum release. It's like they're watching the sequencing of our consciousness and how it's moving into the crystalline grid. And as I stated this morning to my Quantum Logica people, if you could see, there's we think of the grid of the planet. We have the crystalline grid, and we have, the ley lines, and we have all these grids, but we also have naturally on this planet musical grids. In other words, sonic grids that are created, as a result of the forces of the electromagnetic field with the crystalline state and all of that going back and forth. And it creates a sonic waves. So these sonic frequencies that are probably not detectable by our human instruments are nevertheless there. And they create these, when they come into contact with the crystalline grid, they create these lattices around the planet. It's like a musical score that changes all the time. If you can read it and you can interpret it into music, which is possible, you could play it, there's a music to it. So this musical score that is working on the planet right now is key in decoding the what I want to say, the properties of the human genetic field as it is speaking to the planet. Because our genetic field is, the crystalline part of that genetic field is speaking to the earth, and the earth is speaking back. Gaia in us, our communication is through that DNA spiral, but the language is coming out in these sonic frequencies. So I don't mean to go too far into all of this, but I just want you to see how intricately woven all of this is. So in our own little lives, when we're struggling with all this stuff and we're going through all the personal things we are in our lives, we had anyway, and then all of this is on top of it. What is happening is the signals, the music, the sheet, the score is changing. It's becoming more dimensional. We've got more notes on the paper, it's the symphony is widening and widening. And as it does, our human spectrum has to widen as well, has to become more dimensional. We've shut ourselves pretty much down, but now we have no choice but to open up these patterns, because it's just like giving birth. You can't say, well, I'm pregnant, but you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want to have this baby. It doesn't work that way. So we're going to give birth. I mean, we're going to do this. Now, the persons who are not on board with this, and I'm not talking about their belief systems, but their energy and their frequency, when they're fighting it, they're going to self-destruct in one way or another, because they cannot hold back the flood of light that's going to come through here.
Okay, well,
go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, but just let me ask. So you can't hold back the flood of light that's coming through, and the music is becoming more complex as this communication between us and Gaia on the genetic level is ongoing. So as that starts to come in, you say, oh, it's like being pregnant, you can't fight it, the baby's growing in your womb. What are the indicators, or you might even say symptoms, that are telling you the music's getting more complex, there's a song that wants to be sung, and you can't block it? How do you know that that's happening, and how do you go, okay, I cease to block, I open up?
Well, I'll be willing to bet you that everyone that's watching this show right now, every single person, is identifying with the feeling that something's different. Something's different in the field. Some days they don't notice it so much, and other days it's like, oh, there it is. And that difference is pulling them towards something. It's a little scary sometimes, but they know it's there. And some people, when I'm doing sessions for people of late, they're saying to me, what is it? I've got, they don't say specifically what I just said, but they say, I've got to find my purpose. I've got to find my path. I've got to do it. I've got to do it now. They're feeling that way because they're being pulled forward, and they think they have to have the sheet music in front of them before they can sing the song. But the song is part of their heart. They don't have to know the patterns in their conscious mind to be able to incorporate them. Obviously, as they start incorporating them, they will know more, but it's not, they don't have to get it all set and perfect before they move forward. They never have. But right now, everyone that's listening to me knows there's something different going on. I'm not talking about all the stuff that's happening on the planet outwardly. I'm talking about inwardly. We can feel it. And that's growing. And the people that are not able to feel it, as I stated in the video, some of them are just plain lost, and it's up to our vibrations to help them find that way. Just by vibrating our fields, they're close enough that they can tap into it and, kind of ignites them. The others that are way off in the boondoggies and they just don't care, and they're wearing, they just not coming. I'm not coming. I don't care what you say. I'm not coming. They're not going to come. They're going to be left behind. And when I say left behind, no soul is left behind in the sense of the ultimate sense, but I'm talking about this program, this particular program, and they're going to have to go back to kindergarten somewhere. And but the in-betweeners, those are the ones that really, really matter right now, because we can't turn our backs on them. We can't become an exclusive club. We've got to open the door to everyone who truly is willing to step forward. And again, this is not about proselytizing some belief system or saying Thoth says or Jesus says or Buddha says. It's about the energy that we project in our lives and how we conduct ourselves and how we go about the business of opening these doors, not just for ourselves and our loved ones, but for the planet. We're always working in coordination with Gaia herself. And that's the way to succeed. Now, we're not going to be able to, every single person who is in that mid category is not going to be able to make it maybe for the whole deal. They may have to step back a few notches and take another planet on and try it again. But at least we know that we have expanded the light principle, and for as many people, as many souls as possible. And we're not just talking about people that are incarnated at this time. See, we're talking about all of the souls that are connected to this planet in this process. They're just stacked up like cords of wood out there, in the astral and the higher heavens and the lower heavens. They're all over the place, and they're all glomming onto this little sphere of Earth, on the electromagnetic field. They're out there, and they're in the astral level. And Thoth is telling me that, the astral level is having to be cleared now. And, there's a lot of souls helping to move into there and clear out those astral levels, help souls move where they need to go. They're stuck in the astral, people in the haunted houses, that they can't get out of the house, even much less into the light. They're helping them in big ways. But when it comes down to it, what's going to happen just naturally, just like a woman giving birth, they're going to be cleared naturally from that field. And so there are many souls that are, higher beings that can work with astral frequencies are helping as many as possible on those levels now, as we speak, to go into the light, as they say. But when certain things take place on this planet, even before light principle 40, when the ascension flash occurs, while certain things taking place as we're moving deeper and deeper into the Pyramidus Radius platform, that in between state where we're going to be able to connect and to do our work, as we're moving into there, more and more sheaths are falling away, including astral sheaths, because it cannot take that load with it. You have to put the camel's hair through the eye of the needle, and all the filaments that don't fit are going to fall away. And that's why it's so important right now that as we stay centered in our hearts and work for and it's important to, focus on ourselves in the sense of what we do to improve ourselves, because we're a candle in the wind, and each of us. But that wind travels to many, many places, and to many, many people, and to many, many souls not even incarnated right now. So we have to always keep that in mind, that we're doing it for all.
Well, yeah, that brought so much forward, and what you're describing is so much on my mind these days when it comes to that core part of the story where we're here to help as many as we can. There's that in-betweener group, and there is the correspondence, as I mentioned, with the Hawaiian prophecy, which you can find on sharetheprophecy.com. And I was actually listening to it again last night, and the correspondences between the Thothic material that you're bringing forward, the description of LP40, the description of the different, groups of souls, what you might call the awakened ones, the in-betweeners, and then the flat out dark folks who have consciously chosen, a path of self-gratification at the suffering of others. That there is going to be this moment when the shift reaches a crisis, and there will be those who can still be awakened, who can still, when there is, for example, in the prophecies of Mother Mary at Garabandal, the description of what is called the warning. It's a light infusion, visible all over the world, not explainable by science, which enters into the core of every soul in an absolutely inescapable way, in which your entire being, conscience, the things you left undone, the bad things that you did do that caused suffering to others, is just going to be completely illumined in your soul, like a life review at a level of intensity that will be, for many, will be excruciating, and will be a moment of terrible shame and potentially self-pity, and at the same time a longing for redemption. It's it's just, to me, quite remarkable that all three sources, Mother Mary's prophecy at Garabandal, the Hawaiian prophecy, which is so coherent, and the specifics brought forward at the quantum level through the Thothic stream, that the guidance from the higher beings at that moment for us will be, there's not much time, save as many as you can. It's not that we are saviors, it's just that we will be in a position to move forward at that moment, and perhaps even put our hands on some of these souls and channel a stream of forgiving light, and they will remember that they already are forgiven, from the soul level, and they stand and they are able to move on into a new world system, and not get kicked back to another 13,000 years of incarnation and learning through karma. No, thank you. Anyway, it's not, I'm wary of oversimplifying this, but it's just so coherent and compelling these days. The cogency, the correspondence of it is kind of jaw-dropping to me, and very poignant, very moving. I can't conceive of a better purpose right now than, we have to keep our own frequency high, and that is a challenge for each one of us in these times, when there's so much to try to distract us and divide us and bring us into a fear frequency. And so that's really, I think about what we do here on Blue Star Rising is we do our best to share not just encouraging news, but encouraging news that is anchored in coherent and compelling quantum science, the ability to participate in something like Quantum Logica Interactive, or practice the Holy Grail Vortex Protocol, and how to protect your frequency and that of your home and that of those you love, while remaining a loving and compassionate human being, and not just a member of some super elite spiritual club, because we're the awakened ones. And it's a shame about all you folks out there, but maybe you'll make it, maybe you won't. We just happen to be here. It's about as natural a thing to do as if you were by a rushing river and you saw somebody who was struggling not to drown in the middle. You'd put out your hand.
Mhm.
So that's how this feels.
Well, and the something that Thoth was just now pointing out to me as we were speaking is that the souls that are in the astral right now, they're just trapped in the astral of their own making, but they're nevertheless trapped there. There's a lot of them. And of course, there's many more souls that didn't get trapped, but many more. But still, when you think about all the souls that are coming from this earth, there's a nice little bunch of them. They're always in the astral, struggling and trying to get through it free and trying to move on. I have to turn off that. It's dinging in our space here. We don't want that. Okay, there. So he's saying that when these astral souls start getting cleared out, compassionately as possible, but getting cleared out of that field, even though all of them aren't going to get cleared out to the last moment when nature, when cosmos clears it all out. But as this is working, the souls that are incarnate, a lot of souls who are incarnate are basically, I don't know, some of them you could say are possessed, but some of them are just highly influenced by astral, other, disincarnate souls who are according them. If people are on drugs, smoking a lot, or have some kind of other kinds of addictions, souls that had those addictions in life and are still, they're going to accord them, going to make those addictions stronger. They're going to pull them deeper into that path. And so, or any kind, even if the people aren't addicted to substances, just if they're in a lower state of consciousness, the souls they're disincarnate in a lower state of consciousness are going to glom onto them. And there's many people walking around on the planet out there right now, the ones they're just so trapped, really trapped, that are experiencing this. So, and they didn't ask for it. They didn't say, hey, come on in and attach to me, so let's make my life more miserable. They didn't ask for that, but that's what's happening. So when this starts clearing away and that's lifted, that burden is lifted from them, they're still going to have their stuff to deal with, but it's not going to be as intense. It's going to make a big difference. So that's what they're working toward. And of course, the whole archonic cap, the negative archonic cap, is cracking and sort of dissipating because it can't take the weight of the light that's moving through. So that's going to relieve the state of things too, because as Thoth stated, we have our karma or our things going on. Then we have these souls that are glommed onto us, and that's influencing us. And then we have this cap of archonic negativity that's like a virus, sucking us dry. Talk about zombies. We're all a bunch of zombies before. But so when that cap's disintegrating, which it is, when the astral souls are being led to the light or whatever, and leaving us alone, then that's going to relieve that. Now, it's not going to all be perfect, as I said. Then some's going to be left here and some's going to be left there, and we have our own karmas to deal with. But it's going to be a heck of a lot lighter frequency. However, before we get there, we're moving through a corridor right now that is intense, because I can't remember the exact words that Thoth used to me, that in the 2020 message that he gave, this really far beyond 2020, but he gave it in December of 2019. But he said it started in 2020, this push. But he said, there's going to be a cacophony, or there's going to be voices, that are going to be drowning in their own screams, something like that. I'm making it worse than he actually said it, but that's what it kind of sounded like. It's like, because they cannot face the light. And more recently, he said, and I put it in the video, they are literally dying to the light. And it's so sad, it's so tragic on one side of the fence, but because everything is eternal, we have to remember no soul dies. It will eventually move back into the heart of God. But in our spectrum, what we're dealing with here, we're hearing the death throes of total illusion and basically demonic possession. And I don't like to go to those words, but I'm just laying it out
Yeah,
there.
it's a reality.
You know, and it's just the death throes. So the best we can do right now, we don't want to ignore it, but we don't want to, you know, just smear it all over us either. We have to have a line of referencing. We have to be able to realize it's there, be aware of it, don't put our head in the sand, but at the same time, hold that light frequency within us and do the things in our lives that we feel we can do to create more light. Or not create more light, let more light in, because light is limitless. It isn't born and it doesn't die. We may be in our flesh, but the light that we have in our being is eternal. But opening that door wider and wider in our heart frequencies opens it for the whole planet. The planet is a frequency machine, and it's a living frequency machine. So we are too. We can switch the channel and make it so much better for the whole process of life here on Earth and where it's leading us.
Yeah, this is reminding me of something I put into my first book, Romancing the Divine, about a friend of mine who had devotion and yearning for God, and she was an alcoholic, and she would come to the meditations, and then she would, you know, go to the grocery store and get her bottles of wine. And it's kind of, you know, like this, okay, here we are, you know, there might be these souls attaching to us because we're still tied to this addiction, but we have these moments of grace where we can make this shift. She told me once that after a meditation, she'd go to the supermarket aisle and go to the wine section and be picking up her bottles of wine, and that she'd hear this little voice in her head saying, the sulfites in wine are bad for you. The sulfites in wine, they are bad for you. She'd hear this little voice. Get up, I drink, I'm having my wine. And this went on for a couple of weeks. And then one day she went to the Lake Shrine Meditation Gardens, and she was walking around the path, and she encountered this wonderful monk, Swiss monk, Brother Turiananda, who was in residence there. And she encountered him on the path and was saying, oh, nice to see you. And then he just stopped and he said, Yogananda wants me to tell you something. The sulfites in wine are bad for you. Right? Oh my God. And then right around that same time, then she was going through the museum gift shop there, and she ran into another saint, Brother Bimalananda. This is delightful. You know, Bimalananda was always in love with Divine Mother. Every woman he saw, he was, you know, pronaming to, and just such a joyful spirit. And she spoke to him for a moment. You know, how are you doing? Oh, well, I'm kind of struggling, brother. You know how it is. And of course, he had deep insight and clairvoyance, and he just fixed her with this blissful gaze that went right through every cell in her being. And she walked back out onto the path, and the desire to drink had absolutely vanished from every cell in her body. And she went home and was like, I don't want to go to the market and get wine. I've got bliss. Why do I want that? She didn't speak of it to him at the time, but like, you know, so several weeks ensued. Oh, you know, just blissful. And she went to the lake, ran into Brother Bimalananda, and she just said to him out of the blue, thank you for taking away the drinking. And he just smiled and he said, you were receptive. Right? Well, it's just like, you know, sad as it is to relate. She even told me, so, you know, I actually had to exert a lot of willpower to get myself back into the drinking habit. And she did.
Oh, no.
You had two saints channel divine grace to you. It's not like to to blame her. She's passed away now. Unfortunately, it was not a happy exit. But and she told me also one time that she'd been drinking. She's walking down Hollywood Boulevard in this black, foul mood, just hating the world and how could this happen? And she sees this homeless guy, complete drunk, and that sort of so badly drunk he's staggering. He can barely walk. It's like, suddenly the pavement comes up to meet him and he's like, how did I get here? I'm on the pavement. He staggers up. And this is just somebody completely unreachable, right? And she's seeing him come her way. It's like, oh, how do I avoid this guy? And she said when he got within 15 feet of her, suddenly he straightened up, threw off every indication of drunkenness, just sudden total sobriety descended on this guy, and he walked right up to her with complete steady pace, walked right up to her, looked her in the eyes and said, "You're really only angry at yourself, and then went back to being the drunk. It was like her guru just said, her guru just said, I'm gonna enter the body of this drunk, straighten up and give you a message that you won't be able to ignore. And that's like, the message. I mean, it's up to us, to take these moments of grace. And I'm reminded of something that, because I've been doing so much reading on Mother Mary lately, and there's a wonderful program we're going to share with you soon with a special guest on that and on the prophecies at Garabandal. But that, and I don't recall exactly who said it, but at these moments of testing, at these moments where we're trying to keep our frequency high, and either our own bad habits, addictions, environment, difficult relationships, the tendency towards fear or anger pulling at you, for those of you for whom this resonates in your soul, Mother Mary at Garabandal, said that's what the rosary is for. Or just to say a Hail Mary, Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, benedictus fructus ventris Iesu, Sancta Maria Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. That just those, there is a vibrational uplift and power and blessing in those words for millions of souls for 1,000 years, because it's actually St. Francis of Assisi who first formulated the Hail Mary, that can lift you. And it doesn't mean you have to be Catholic or believe in baptism and communion and last rites or anything. It's the Divine Mother vibration. It's a way of tuning into the grace of the cosmic Divine Mother vibration and invoking her help, her blessings, her love that can lift us and help us get through these moments of trial.
Well, as you were saying that, Thoth is showing me how this pyramidus radius matrix thing, which is this vibrational energy platform that we're being drawn into to prepare us for LP40, Light Principle 40. And the matrix itself is like a prayer. He said it's like a vibrational prayer. It sends out a signal of deep love on a God level. And as it does this, it creates this sense of coming home, coming to the place that's right for you. And I'm not talking about packing your bag and traveling. I'm talking about internally. Although it might at times, because it has to do with anchoring light at certain parts of the planet, it eventually will lead you to certain places. But that's just the final part of it. It's about coming home in your heart. Thoth used to call it the homeward light. And so it's like that prayer. It fills you with that divine love. And when you receive that, you are able to walk on water. You're able to fly in the clouds. And I'm not speaking about us physically walking on water and flying in the clouds. You can probably do it, but that's not what I'm talking about. But the energy of it is like you can make the reality what you need it to be, while it's useful to you as a spiritual soul, because it's all going away at some point. We're moving into the world system 2, and this will crumble away, except for the light codes, a certain sacredness of the planet and the planetary genius that will go with us. So it's not about holding on to the earth and trying to make this little bundle of rocks work for us, but it's about establishing the light frequencies we need for the trip ahead. And in doing so, we've been given this beautiful arc of light, this little ship, little arc of ship, whatever you want to call it, that we can climb aboard so that the seas will be calmed in under our footsteps as we prepare what we need, not only for ourselves, but for the souls, even incarnate and not incarnate, all of us, to be able to prepare for this journey. And it's like, so it is an arc, but it's one that we craft in our own way, in our own locations, and with the knowledge, the inner knowledge that we are connecting to many other arcs of light on the planet. And as these connections are made, you see these frequencies that I'm talking about that are like musical notes, you know, on the planet. They're going to be key in establishing certain nodal energies that cause the whole shell of the frequency earth to change the channel, the frequency earth. And when the channel is changed, the persons who were not dialing in are still not going to know anything happened. They're going to be in their lost world and they're doing all their stuff and everything. But when that channel is changed, those who are ready to accept that frequency, again, not through belief systems or anything like that, but through just connection, just natural, very natural connection. No great pilgrimages or prayers all day long. I'm not making light of that. I mean, prayers are wonderful, but I'm just saying you don't have to, you know, delve into some kind of religious fervor to get there. It's just a natural thing. It's like, it's natural for the ones that are ready to consume the golden bread and wine of this light. And it's unnatural for those who don't have that understanding in their frequency. So when this happens, then we have established our arcs of light. We'll be able to do the work we need to do to prepare for the last stages before, and we won't be hassled by those who right now are tearing at our doors. You know, there will be a separation of worlds. That's what Thoth told me in the 1980s. He said there will be a separation of worlds, and I'm going, what do you mean? You know, and even though I thought I got it at the time, I didn't really get it. Not, you know, I didn't got it that much, but I'm getting it more and more what that means. You know, so. And it's not a, it's not a biblical, it's not a religious thing. It's not a, oh, they did wrong, so they don't get to come. It's not any of that. It's just energy. It's quantum science, and quantum science holds the chords of a whole movement, the whole concert of the soul, and of life itself, and of the what we call the heaven's gate, the heaven, you know, of our experience of the ultimate heights and the ultimate experience of love. It holds all of that, and it's science, because science is God and God is science. And, you know, so I guess I'm talking too much, but I'm just trying to make my point.
No, I hear you. I hear you. It's reminding me, man, I love that phrase, this homeward light. Is that what Thoth called it?
Yes, the homeward light. Yes.
Yeah, that it reminds me of, well, the children at Garabandal. There's so many photos of them in ecstasy, communing with Mother Mary and talking to her. And so people ask them afterwards, well, what is she like? What's it like to talk to her? And they would say, well, you know, I told her about my schoolwork and about, you know, what my mother did today. It's just all this like mundane stuff. And like, well, you know, like, well, isn't she going to give us a cosmic message to you kids? And the children said, it is like coming home to a mother you never knew you had, but who is your sweetest, closest friend, and who has been missing you, and this wonderful reunion. It's like, oh, mother, it's you. And so you just sweetly talk with her. And of course, my understanding is that this is the cosmic universal divine mother in all her awesome power, manifesting through the cosmic whir of the divine motor of the sacred word of Om, vibrating through every speck of being throughout the galaxies. And she came completely through the human form of the mother of Jesus, Mother Mary, who, you have shared was, the soul of Isis. And so there is this completely human, motherly, comforting, warm, sweet, personal aspect to this, while at the same time, it's quantum. It's, this energy is coming in, and there's this very loving and concerned motherly aspect that wants to awaken us, that wants us to know, that wants to spare us suffering, that wants us to be able to move on into the light. And that's the common theme in these apparitions of the Blessed Mother, that there is a cataclysmic change coming, and that there is this light that is going to, this unignorable light that is going to hit the planet, and that we have a chance to prepare, and we have a chance to share with others. So yeah, I love that just came through. I just love the moments when, here we are on Blue Star Rising, and Maia and I have a conversation, and then it's like, update, hot off the presses. In the last 60 seconds, Thoth has just said this. And I love the sweet, simple way that happens.
Well, I always feel him very close when we're doing these shows, because as I will state again, and I've stated this before, and of course you're well aware of it, Michael, that the whole reason we have these shows is because Thoth came to me and said, I'd really like for you and Michael to do these shows, to for the most part, to profile the Thothic material, adding some things here and there, but the basic core of it being that. And he said, it's not even just about teaching it and putting it out there in words, which is good for people who, resonate and everything, but it's also about the frequency and putting that frequency out there in the world in this manner. And that Michael and I could work well together with that. And I think we do.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. Well, this actually feels like a good wrap-up point. I do want to remind everybody, of course, that Maia gives Akashic counseling sessions, and that we also have a Patreon page now. If you are able to give even a modest amount per month, it certainly makes a difference in our being able to bring you these programs. And, of course, like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff. And there's some wonderful programs coming your way. We have a special guest whom we've had before, Kalyani Sundari, who is a wonderful teacher and what we call cosmic vocalist and spiritual psychologist, and very much a soul who is deeply attuned to the divine feminine rising throughout our world. So we'll be sharing her upcoming programs with you shortly. And with that, bless you all. Thank you so much for being with us. God blesses everyone. One more thing from Maia.
Yes, we're speaking of mothers. I just wanted everyone to know that today's my mother's birthday. Of course, she's been on the other side for a long time now, but I did have a dream about her last night, and I didn't even realize today was her birthday till I woke up this morning.
Oh,
and she was
sweet.
My divine mother, because she not only birthed me, but the reason I'm here and doing these shows and doing all the work I've done all these years is greatly due to her support in the many years we were together, and how she was there with me and the guidance she gave me. And, so I just wanted to acknowledge her here on this.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, very sweet. All right. So again, thanks everyone. Much love. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.